Primary source: Excerpt from the official report of Governor Izquierdo on the Cavite Mutiny of 1872. BSBA HRM 1C Group 1. Cavite Mutiny Controversy. Mutiny. Mutiny is a rebellion against authority. Comes from an old verb, mutiny, which means revolt. So what happened on January 20, 1872? Cavite Arsenal revolts happened. 200 men comprised of soldiers, laborers, and arsenal residents of Cavite, headed by Sergeant La Madrid, rose in arms and assassinated the commanding officer and Spanish officer of Fort San Felipe. The insurgents were expecting support from the bulks of army, and fortunately that did not happen. The news about the mutiny reached in Manila, and General Izquierdo immediately ordered the reinforcement of Spanish troops in Cavite. After 2 days, the mutiny was officially declared subdued. On February 17, 1872, the three priests, Gomborza, Mariano Gomez, 85 years old, Jose Burgos, 30 years old, Jacinto Zamora, 35 years old, the three priests were summarily tried and sentenced to death at Bagong Bayan Field in the morning by the Garrote for being linked as instigator of the Cavite Arsenal revolt. Jose Rizal dedicated his novel El Filibusterismo to the three priests. The mutiny was a major factor in the awakening of nationalism among the Filipino.
What is the issue? Two accounts of perspective reference to the death of the three Filipino martyrs. Number 1, the Spanish perspective Cavite Mutiny. Number 2, the Filipino version of the Cavite incident. The Spanish perspective of the 1872 Cavite Mutiny. Jose Montero y Vidal, prolific Spanish historian, documented the event Cavite Mutiny and highlights it's an attempt of the Indios to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. Montero's account of the Cavite Mutiny said that the idea of attaining their independence, it was towards this goal that they started to work with the powerful assistance of a certain section of the native clergy.
Governor General Rafael Izquierdo magnified the event and made use of it to implicate the native clergy, which was then active in the call for secularization. He reported to the King of Spain that the rebels wanted to overthrow the Spanish government to install a new Hari. In the lives of the Father Burgos and Zamora, the native clergy who, out of the animosity against the Spanish friars, conspired and supported the rebels and enemies of the Spain.
The official report of Governor Izquierdo on the Cavite Mutiny of 1872 said it has not been clearly determined if they planned to establish a monarchy or a republic because the Indios have no word in their language to describe this form of government, whose head in Filipino would be called Hari, but it turns out that they would place at the head of the government a prize, that the head selected would be the Jose Burgos or the Jacinto Zamora. Both Montero and Izquierdo scored out that the abolition of privilege enjoyed by the workers of Cavite Arsenal, such as non-payment of tributes and exemption from forced labor, were the main reasons of the revolution. Both them that the event of 1872 was planned earlier and was thought of it as a big conspiracy among educated leaders, mestizos, abogadillos, or native lawyers, residents of Manila and Cavite, and the native clergy. On 17 February 1872, in attempt of the Spanish government and Philocracia to instill fear among the Filipinos that may never commit such during act again, the Comborza were executed event was tragic but served as one of the moving forces that shaped Filipino nationalism.
The Filipino version of Cavite incident, Dr. Trinidad Hermenegildo Pardo de Tavera, a Filipino scholar and researcher, wrote the Filipino version of the bloody incident in Cavite. The incident was a mere mutiny by the native Filipino soldiers and laborers of the Cavite arsenal who turned out to be dissatisfied with the abolition of their privilege. Blamed Governor Izquierdo's cold-blooded policies such as the abolition of privilege, the workers and native army members of the arsenal, prohibition of the founding of School of Arts and Trades for the Filipinos, which the general believed as a cover-up for the organization of the political club.
Tavera believed that the Spanish friars and Izquierdo the Cavite Mutiny as a powerful lever by magnifying it as full-blown conspiracy involving not only the native army but also included residents of Cavite and Manila. And more importantly, the native clergy to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. It is noteworthy that during that time, the central government in Madrid announced its intention to deprive the friars of all powers of intervention in matters of civil government and the direction and management of educational institutions. In the intention of installing reforms, it welcomed an education decree authored by Sigismundo Moret promoted the infusion of sectarian school run by the friars in a school called Philippines Institute. The decree proposed to improve the standard of education in the Philippines by requiring teaching position in such school to be filled by competitive examinations. This improvement was warmly received by most Filipinos in spite of the native clergy's zest of secularization. The Filipino version of the Cavite incident. This turned out of events was believed by Tavera prompted the friars to do something drastic in their dire desire to maintain power in the Philippines. The friar, fearing that their influence in the Philippines would be a thing of the past, took advantage of the incident and presented it to the Spanish government as a vast conspiracy organized throughout the archipelago with the object of destroying Spanish sovereignty. Tavera sadly confirmed that the Madrid government came to believe that the scam was true without any attempt to investigate the real facts or extent of the alleged revolution reported by Izquierdo and the friars.
These are convicted, educated men who participated in the mutiny were sentenced to life imprisonment. Members of the native clergy headed by the Gomburza were tried and executed by garrote. This episode leads to the awakening of nationalism and eventually to the outbreak of Philippine Revolution of 1896. Edmond Plouchot, a French writer, complemented Tavera's account and analyzed the motivation of the 1872 Cavite Mutiny.
Did Rizal retract? So first, let us identify what retraction means. Retraction is a public statement made about an earlier statement that withdraws, cancels, refutes, or reverses the original statement or ceases and desists from publishing the original statement. Jose Rizal is identified as a hero of the revolution for his writings that center on ending colonialism and liberating to creating the Filipino. The great volume of Rizal's life works was committed to this end, particularly the more influential ones, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. His essays verify not the Catholic religion, but the friars, the main agents of injustice in the Philippines society. Since Rizal's retraction letter was discovered by the Father Manuel Garcia, CM in 1935, its contents has become a favorite subject of dispute among academians and Catholics. The letter, dated December 29, 1896, was said to have been assigned by the national hero himself. The controversy whether the national hero wrote a retraction document only lies in the judgment of its reader, as no amount of proof can probably make the two opposing groups, the Masonic Rizalist who firmly believed that Rizal did not withdraw, and the Catholic Rizalist who convinced Rizal retracted, agree with each other. Rizal retraction. Rizal's retraction. I declare myself a Catholic in this religion in which I was born and educated, I wish to live and die. I retract with all my heart whatever in my words, writings, publications, and conduct has been contrary to my character as son of the Catholic Church. I believe and I confess whatever she teaches, and I submit to whatever she demands. I abominate Masonry as the enemy which is of the Church, and the society prohibited by the Church. A diocesan prelate may, as a superior ecclesiastical authority, make public this spontaneous manifestation of mine in order to repair the scandal which may acts may have caused, and so that God and people may pardon me. The reason behind this account was the arrival of Josephine Bracken, as he fell in love with her. He wanted to marry this woman according to the canon law. However, the guide of Bracken and her stepfather, Manuel Orlac, objected to the plan of Rizal. The guide stated that Rizal cannot do unless he signed a profession of faith to the Catholic Church. To this mean he would really write a retraction formula by then which checked by the Archbishop of Cebu. But according to Professor Augustine Craig, his close friend Father Obac, the priest in Dapitan shared to him that Rizal, realizing late that this retraction was one of the things that friars have been waiting to get from him, so he hurriedly reclaimed the letter, as Obac was already sent to send the mail to the Archbishop of Cebu. Within this argument, it can be concluded that in some way or another, Rizal did not really retracted in order to marry Bracken by the canon law. The Balaguer Testimony. According to the testimony by Father Vicente Balaguer, a Jesuit missionary who befriended the hero during his exile in Dapitan, Rizal accepted a aborter retraction document prepared by the superior of the Jesuit Society in the Philippines, Father Pio Pai. Rizal then wrote his retraction after making some modifications in the document. In his retraction, he disavowed Masonry and religious thoughts that opposed Catholic belief. I do not believe he retracted, but some documents that were purchased by the Philippine government from Spain in the mid-1990s. The Cuerpo de Vigilancia de Manila showed some interesting points about the retraction, said Jose Victor Torres, professor at the History Department of De La Salle University. Popularly known as the Katipunan and Rizal documents, the Cuerpo de Vigilancia de Manila is a body of documents on the Philippine revolutions that contains confidential reports, transcripts, clippings, and photographs from Spanish and Philippine newspaper. The testimony of Cuerpo de Vigilancia. In his research, documents the Cuerpo de Vigilancia included a report on the last hours of Rizal, written by Federico Moreno. The report details of a statement of the Cuerpo de Vigilancia to Moreno.
The last hour of Rizal. At 7:50 yesterday morning, Jose Rizal entered death row accompanied by his counsel Senor Tavel D. Andred and the Jesuit priest Villa Clara. Senor Andred left death row at 10, and Rizal spoke for a long while with Jesuit fathers March and Villa Clara regarding religious matters, it seems. At 3 in the afternoon, Father March entered chapel and Rizal handed him what he had written. At 5 in the morning of the 30th, the lover of Rizal arrived at the prison dressed in mourning. Rizal's connection to Katipunan, precursor of Katipunan as an organization in the La Liga Filipina, an organization founded by Rizal with Andres Bonifacio as one of its members. Rizal may not have been officially part of the Katipunan, but the Katipuneros showed great appreciation of his work toward same goals. Out of 28 members of the leadership of the Katipunan, 13 were former members of La Liga Filipina. Katipuneros even used Rizal's name as a password. In 1986, Katipuneros decided to inform Rizal of their plans to launch the revolution.